One day, the all-powerful god Thor was out with the mischievous Loki. It was getting dark. They needed a place to stay. Thor saw an enormous house he recognized. "This is the house," he said to Loki confidently. "This is the house of Thrim. He might not be very bright, but he does have a warm fireplace and a big pot of food on. He will put us up for the night. Loki, knock on his door." Loki did as he was told. He knocked on the door. "Knock, knock, knock." "I can't hear you." "Knock, knock, knock." And Thrim, the not very bright giant, came and opened his door. "Hello? Hello, Thor. Hello, Loki. What are you doing here?" And Thor explained, "We need a place to sleep for the night. Tomorrow we return to Asgard." "Well, of course," said the not very bright giant Thrim. "In you come. Make yourselves at home by the warm fireplace. I have a big pot of food. Always on the go, you are welcome," he said. In they came. They were made to feel very welcome indeed. They had a good night's sleep, a feast, and a breakfast. In the morning, they departed along the dusty road to Asgard. As they approached the beautiful city of the gods, which is Asgard, there's a bridge, and the bridge means they are safely home. They get to the bridge. Thor sets one foot on the bridge. Loki is behind him. But suddenly, Thor stops, clutches his head, won't go any further. "Oh no," he says. "No! What am I going to do?" "What's the matter?" says Loki. "Why are we stopped on the bridge? You can see home. We've had a good time. Why have you stopped, Thor? What on earth is the matter?" "I have forgotten Mjolnir, my hammer. I have lost it." This is disaster. You may or may not know, but the gods of Asgard are safe if they have Thor and his hammer Mjolnir. Without one of those, they have a problem. They now have a problem. It's up to Loki to inform the gods. Imagine, all the gods are there sitting and waiting for news of the outside world, expecting Thor to burst in with stories of giants teased and battles fought. But they see Loki coming in, head bowed down, looking guilty. He says, "Gods, I have some worrying news to report. Mjolnir, the hammer of Thor, is missing." Yikes! All of the gods are shocked, horrified, and scared. They know they are now unprotected. This is the sort of situation that suits mischievous Loki. "I have an idea, gods. How about I am trusted for 24 hours to sort this problem out?" Well, what could the gods say? They have no other choice. They send him on his way with their blessing, and he departs Asgard down the dusty track, back to the house of the giant. At the house of the giant, Loki knocks on the door. Knock, knock, knock. He can hear Thrim, but he's not in the house. He can hear Thrim from the back of the house outside in the garden. He can hear Thrim because Thrim is dancing and singing at the top of his voice. Suspicious, Loki climbs around the back, up the wall, into a tree so he can look straight down into the garden. There is a sight. There, the not very bright giant Thrim is dancing around and singing to his very own dog. He is saying, "Ho, ho, ho, we're going to be rich. Yeah, ho, ho, doggy, we're going to be, what is it? Hang on. Ho, 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 we're going to be rich. Oh, doggy. Oh, I can't, so many words. Oh, I'm going to get you a new collar. I'm so happy." And Loki is watching all of this. As the giant is singing to his dog, he's also finishing digging a hole in his garden. He's patting it down, definitely having just buried something precious. "Aha!" says Loki, looking down at him. "I know what you have just buried there, Thrim, you not very bright giant."
"Huh," says the giant, looking up. "What are you doing spying on me, Loki?"
"Thrim," says Loki, "we know what you're up to now. I have proof. I've seen you dancing around that hole in the ground, and I bet you anything you like you have buried our hammer. We want it back. We want it back now before you do anything silly. Give it back to us."
"Well," says Thrim, "give back your hammer." Oops.
Well, that gave it away, didn't it? You've definitely admitted it. It's down there in that hole, isn't it?
"No, it isn't," said the giant, and he stood over the hole.
"Yes, it is," said Loki. "Otherwise, why would you be dancing and singing and burying something and now looking very, very guilty?"
"I'm not looking guilty," said the giant, looking guilty. He stood on the hole and looked guilty.
"Well, you're going to have to give it back because Thor has commanded it. So give it back now and there'll be no more trouble," said the mischievous god Loki.
"Well, you're not having it back. Ever. I've buried it so deep down that hole that no one, not even Thor, can reach it. And that's that."
"Pardon me," said the giant. Well, Loki had to think hard now. It wasn't going to be as easy as he thought. Well, I'll tell you one chance. I'll give you one chance. I know the gods will be willing to swap one thing for the hammer. And I am powered to negotiate with you now. You choose the thing, I will arrange it. What will you have? Something shiny? Something tasty? Something furry? Something comfortable? Something valuable? Something that's nice to drink? Anything you like. We will swap it. One thing. Choose carefully, giant. And you will have it."
"Well, I can swap the hammer. You'll say anything, one thing. Let me think."
"No." Well, Loki has to think hard. "What do you mean, no? I mean, we're offering anything. You could have a never-ending supply of sausages. You could have a diamond as big as your head. You could have anything. Maybe, perhaps, a horse with 14 legs. Just choose something. Stop being a silly giant and give back our hammer."
"Anything, you say? I could have a sausage as big as my head or a diamond with 17 legs. What good is that? No."
Uh-oh. He's in trouble now. Loki has run out of negotiating skills. Think, Thrim. Anything. There must be something you are missing in your life, you sad, lonely giant.
Well, this must have triggered something, for the giant's eyes did look a little sad for a moment. And then they lit up. "Yes, there is something," he said. "I will give you the hammer back if you give me that beautiful goddess Freya. Down here, this week, I want to see her in a beautiful red veil, ready to marry me."
Of course, said Thrim. Although that's not what he was thinking. How am I going to get this past the gods? They'll never agree to it, is what he was thinking. Of course, he said to the giant. And he left down the dusty road back to Asgard with the news that Freya, the beautiful goddess, was to be married to the silly giant in a red wedding veil. So Loki returned down the dusty path to Asgard, thinking hard. How was his negotiation going to go down with the gods? How were they going to get round this problem of marrying Freya in a beautiful wedding veil to a silly giant this week as well? They were not going to be happy, but that was the deal. He opened the doors and saw all the gods waiting in the chamber at Asgard. Gods, he said, I have some good news and some less good news. I negotiated hard with Thrim the giant. He has indeed got the hammer. He has buried it so deep we can't get it. He has agreed, though, to swap it for one thing. Good, said the gods. Good, said the gods. This is excellent news, said the gods. The thing he wants to swap it for is our goddess Freya, dressed in a beautiful wedding veil of red, so he can marry her. This is bad news, said the gods. This is bad news, said the gods. This is terrible news, said the gods. We cannot allow this. However, continued Loki, I have an idea. Thor left the hammer behind. Thor could wear a dress and a wedding veil. Thor could pretend to be Freya. Thor could spring a trap on the silly giant. After all, it's his fault. The gods thought, yes, this plan could work. And Thor was dressed in a beautiful dress. And to finish it off, he was given a beautiful red wedding veil. He was very, very grumpy, but there was no other choice. Back down the dusty track went Thor, or should I say, Freya, in his beautiful wedding veil. They are about to knock on the door of the giant Thrim. Loki checks to make sure Thor is looking good, covers him over with the veil, and then reaches up to knock on the door of the giant. The giant's already there. He's so excited. He looks down to see Loki. Hello, Loki. I'm so excited to see you. Thank you for coming back on my wedding day. You're my only guest. Apart from, of course, you, he says, looking at the beautiful Freya with her wedding veil over her face. You, my bride-to-be, he says, looking into her eyes. He can barely see them. You look beautiful. And in return, he gets the gaze of his bride-to-be, who just nods quietly. And in they go. They sit down for the wedding feast. There are roasted goats, there are bowls of apples and eggs, and lots of gravy. And they eat and eat until the trouble begins. Because Freya, reaches out for an entire roasted goat, picks it up, puts it under the veil, and scoffs the lot. Burp! Well, the giant's shocked. I didn't know girls could eat so much and burp so loudly. What's going on, Loki? I know. I didn't know they could either, but I think you'll find there is a reason for this, because she has been so excited about marrying you that in fact she hasn't eaten for a week. And now she's very, very hungry. That's what it will be. Yes, yes, that's what it will be.
Yes, yes, said the giant, almost convinced.
But at that point, Freya reached out for a whole barrel of beer.
Under the veil, glug, 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 glug. Bop! Well, said the giant, I didn't know girls could drink so much beer and burp so loudly.
No, said Loki, neither did I. I believe there's a reason for this, giant, for me to explain to you, and this is the dust on the road. It's been a very dusty journey, and it's obviously gone in Freya's mouth and made her very dusty. And the beer was the cure.
Oh, the cure, said the giant. Yeah, okay.
And at this point, Loki was thinking, I need to get Freya into the garden ready for the wedding. Oh, Thrim, why don't we get you two ready for wedding in the garden?
Oh, yeah, said the giant. That's a good idea.
And out they went, the three of them and the dog, ready for a wedding in the garden. And they all stood quietly ready for a wedding in the garden when Loki whispered into the ear of the giant, your wife-to-be is a little shy, but she was just wondering if you could let her hold that hammer of Thor one time before you get married, because she's never going to be in Asgard again. She, after all, never be there. She'll be here happily married to you, handsome giant, and she'll never touch it. Could you just hold the hammer in her hands? Would that be okay?
Oh, said the giant. Yes, why not? How can I say no to my wife-to-be?
And he dug down and reached into the hole, and he picked out the hammer. The hammer of Thor. The hammer called Mjolnir, and he passed it to his wife-to-be, who took it in her hands. She took it under the veil, and then there was a sniggering noise, which turned into a laughing noise, and a laughing with menace noise, as Freya ripped off the veil from her head. It was Thor and his hammer, which was left in the garden for Thrim. Uh-oh, thought Thrim. I've been undone. Thor looked at him with his angry eyes. You naughty giant! You stole my hammer. You stole the hammer of Asgard, and you thought you'd get away with it. Well, you're not going to. And with that, he threw his hammer through the air. His hammer circled the house 3 times and made the earth quake. Everybody shook from side to side, and the giant's house collapsed in a heap of dust and bricks. Ha! Thor looked at his dog, looked at Loki, smiled, and left, back to Asgard. They came home victorious and were able to report to the Council of Gods that they were protected once more. Hurrah!